What's up, everybody? We just got out of Blade Runner. What the fuck is wrong with you?
This is not My Little Pony.
Well, obviously it's not, because I never even gave the show any chance, and you were a former brony.
You know how big of a brony I am.
I'm sorry, man. I just couldn't convert to that lifestyle.
You took me to the slowest, most pretentious, most bullshit movie I've seen all year. This movie gets a 0 out of 10 for not being My Little Pony.
Sad day for film lovers everywhere.
So yeah,
we got out of Blade Runner 2049. Everybody's saying 2049 is either a millennial or just someone who doesn't want to say the correct phrase or correct year. Whatever the fuck. Yeah. Holy shit, this was actually really good. And not only because it still carries a big cult hit out of the 80s, but for actually being fucking good. This was directed by the guy who directed Arrival, and we all know that he has some of the best new technique out of most current directors nowadays. And him covering what was said to be a slow-paced movie with sci-fi and film noir, how could it get any better?
yeah, see, okay, my expectations for this movie was like on a gradual incline, because when I first heard about this movie, most people assumed it was going to be a remake of Blade Runner, and of course to that I said, fuck that.
Remakes. If this wanted to be a remake, it should have been re-released in 2015.
Yeah, but then I heard it was going to be a sequel, which was better. I mean, I still didn't think it was going to be any good, but I prefer a sequel to a remake. Remakes, more times than not, are pointless. Sequels, you can at least...
Plus, if it's a remake, you know exactly what's going to happen.
Right. Sequels, you could at least do something with it. But again, Blade Runner was made for a completely different audience in a completely different time. And I thought, you can't make a movie like that nowadays. People would pass it off as slow and boring and...
There's nobody shooting anything.
There's nothing happening. Where's my penis jokes?
It's just landscape shots.
It's not. Yeah, it's just filler.
Although for the 13-year-old boys who want all that, the dick jokes, the filler, there is a lot of nudity in this. So they can pay attention to that.
There you go.
Pervy 13-year-old me. It has to come out sometime.
Yeah. But then we saw Arrival, obviously, and that was, like, for me, just a massive surprise. And when I heard that this same guy is making the new Blade Runner, immediately I thought, okay, I guess this can be good, because he gets it. He knows how to make sci-fi without all the without all the Pepsi generation bullshit to keep the tiny brains happy.
The tropes, the cliches, the standard stuff.
Yeah,
but
making it as safe and as marketable as possible.
Marvelizing it.
There you couldn't have said it better myself. I was trying to avoid bringing up Marvel movies, but I guess
well, you technically didn't. Until a few seconds ago. Anyway, but okay, back to Blade Runner.
Yeah. So then seeing this movie in actuality, the best way I could describe this movie is what Mad Max Fury Road did for its franchise.
And when he told me that, I immediately questioned after that, so it's better than the franchise? Because I love Fury Road better than the other Mad Max movies.
Me, I'm still debating in my head about whether or not Fury Road would be better than Road Warrior, or even the first one, which a lot of people don't like at all.
They discard it only because it's not weird and crazy like Road Warrior is.
It's also different from every other movie in the franchise. But what I meant by that, obviously, is that Mad Max Fury Road took the very purest essence of what made its franchise good, what people liked about it, at least the good movies, obviously, and brought it into the modern era in the best possible way,
as well as doing its own take on it.
Yes,
it did provide a different story. It did provide different characters, even, and it also did provide entertainment and as well as a satisfying result. That's what this one does.
Exactly.
It actually does. And based off of its past, again, slow sci-fi noir for the 80s, and that was the reason why it didn't do so well at the box office. Then again, it was also competing against the likes of E.T.
Well, that and like Star Wars, Star Wars at the time was like considered the pinnacle of science fiction.
And the only reason Star Wars was taking over was because of how popular and mainstream it was, as opposed when I think Blade Runner was trying to remake the magic of 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Right.
But since Star Wars made more money and Blade Runner didn't, that's just the popular formula they kept going with. But the reason that Blade Runner is so special, and again, for the time that it did come out, is because it actually did bring real human core emotion and value into the future where literally anybody could see themselves like put in.
It was a conceivable future.
Exactly.
Maybe not in the time frame it was. I really don't think we're going to be where Blade Runner is 3 years from now?
I think.
2 years from now. Okay. But still.
Because the first one was in 2019.
Okay.
And that's why they keep on saying 30 years ago from 2049.
That's why I kept thinking 2020. But that's okay. So yeah.
So basically, just including what you said, it has resonant ideas that resonate with anybody at any time. So basically, it's sort of timeless.
Yeah.
And you know what? This one is also, because you know what? It is a sequel, but like Chris said, it keeps the heart of the original. It keeps its main points in check: atmosphere, pacing, score, and again,
characters,
and timeless ideas.
Mm-hmm. I will say this though: it is, just going off of memory of the original, it is slightly faster paced than the original was, and it is slightly more action oriented.
I would definitely say the action has way more increased.
Yeah, but it doesn't it doesn't come across as condescendingly fast. Like we're only doing fast because your tiny brains can't process being slow for any more than 20 seconds.
I didn't think any bit of this was fast. They took their sweet time. But I'm not saying it's slow.
Right. Well, no. You can say it's slow. I just hate when people say that's inherently a bad thing.
No, not at all. And
people nowadays associate slow pacing with poor pacing, and that's what I don't like. Because you can have poor pacing comes in many forms. It doesn't. The only reason people don't like slow pacing is because people today don't have any appreciation for that kind of thing.
Oh, slow pace, boring.
Yeah. That's what's irritating to me. That's what even nowadays people watch the original Blade Runner, and more times than not, all people come out saying is, "Man, that movie was slow. I didn't get it. It was stupid. Why do people like this?"
It's because you actually have to think.
Right. Both these movies demand your attention to appreciate them. And
but then again, that is also a good thing about it, because one thing about film is that it engrosses the viewer. It entices them to come in and think about what they're trying to convey.
Mm-hmm. And like with the action, as I said, with the action, it doesn't feel like it's trying to make up for its lack of substance. It's not putting in action where it can't put in any kind of decent character growth, world building, and all that stuff that made the original one great. So that's why I'm not too mad about this one being just slightly more modernized than the original. It's in my mind, I think some of these are conventions that had to be made in order to make this movie past the the corporate the corporate test of like how much money can we make off this? Are people going to enjoy this? This isn't a Marvel movie. Maybe we need to replace Deckard with Tony Stark.
Damn it. Off of Marvel. Off of Marvel. No.
Okay. But yeah, I don't even really want to give away any plot details about this. I know you do.
Hang on. I'm just gonna say right now, with this being a sequel, one of the key components of a good sequel is that it continues the story and doesn't just become a remake of what was of the original case, which is what I thought happened with Kingsman Golden Circle to the first Kingsman. But this one continues the story by following Ryan Gosling, who is a Blade Runner himself, and again is sent on a mission, but finds something that has a whole interconnected story, along with Deckard, who is still alive. We all know that because they showed Harrison Ford in the trailers. And all coming down to business. Oh yeah, and Jared Leto is in this playing a blind power god.
Yep.
That was one thing that the trailers actually did pretty well. They didn't spoil any of the story. They showed as many visuals as they wanted to, but luckily they didn't give away any key points of what was going to happen during the storyline. It actually does keep you guessing about all the different outcomes that could be. But then again, for me, that was sort of a bit of a downside. A lot happens in this movie story-wise. It goes from point A to B to C to D to E to blah 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 until you get to about, what is it, T or U.
Personally, I think it's about, okay, you say the original one was simple. I wouldn't say that. I'd say both these movies are about as complicated as each other. It's just that this one happens to have more going on in it.
Yeah,
I think that's how, at least how I would describe it.
I definitely agree. There's more going on. And at least in comparison to the first one, I thought the first one was more simple because of how it's just one cop going on his missions, but questioning his morals in the process, and then turning a leaf in the end. With this one, it's guy finds out something, and again, point.
But see, I kind of like that. There's partway through the story, something is revealed, and you kind of, at least for me, I kind of can figure out the rest from here on out.
Both of us did.
And then they hit you with another reveal, and towards the end. And now, suddenly it's flipped on its head.
And they don't explain it. You have to put it together yourself,
which I love. I love movies that do that.
Don't tell.
Other people are gonna hate that about this. They're gonna hate. Where's the answer?
They're gonna be so fucking confused.
Yes.
And okay, not to play pretentious, I was confused at the end a bit too. I had to talk with him a little bit just to get some points out. But yeah, after that it almost completely made sense.
Yeah.
99.99%. But then again, that 0.01% is continuing on a question from the last one, but we'll get to that later.
I really don't want to talk about that.
Then we might not. Then we might not.
Honestly, all I want to say is that I was a massive skeptic for this movie. I did not think you could take Blade Runner and bring it into the modern age, but they did. They did it really better than I ever could have expected. And while I'm not even going to get into a debate on is this better than the original or anything, because I don't care.
It's the exact same. Not below, not above.
Yeah, pretty much. So I mean that's for me, that's one of the best possible outcomes you could do. One of the best movies I've seen all year. Go see this movie. Please.
No doubt. Definitely go see this because it does it connects so many. It takes the ideology of first Blade Runner, what's human, what's real, and what can be made artificial by either a creator or by an individual, that still resonates here. Artificiality, questioning memories and questioning reality, as well as
There's a... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, I was gonna try and fill in for the third point, but
There's a lot of influence to this one too from other movies. I mean, there's some bits from Arrival, which only makes sense. There's some bits from Her, the movie Her, and there's even some things I saw that I feel like were partially inspired by Ghost in the Shell and Cowboy Bebop, which happen to also be works that were inspired by Blade Runner. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah,
one of the biggest bits though for me personally is artificiality.
Yes.
And sequels can take things from the original source and try and exploit them, and they'll blow up in their face. This one takes one gigantic risk and give Gosling a artificial girlfriend. And this is taken directly from Her, in the fact there's artificial intelligence given the abilities to have human emotions and to have human connections with its customer. But that also gives a duality towards the humans that look down on Gosling for it. But then again, do you want something that's quote unquote real, but doesn't necessarily give you the treatment that you would deserve in a daily person? Or would you rather have something you physically can't touch, but can love to the best of your ability? That's something that's brought up several times, at least for the beginning half.
there's one scene that's like ripped right out of Her. I won't say which one and for what, but anyone who's seen Her and then sees this movie, you'll be able to immediately recognize it.
And as well as both forces, natural forces and technological forces, trying to be merged into one, even if it isn't a perfect outcome.
Yeah.
Then again, that can be used as a whole idea for the movie, trying to be able to combine natural forces with technological and come out with a miracle.
Right.
That's a heavy word that's used in the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, which is still, it's kind of it is debatable still, because it takes something from the first one that was never quite explained, or something that never quite fully revealed,
Answered.
Yeah.
For the fans of the first one, you already know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Let's just say they don't quite give you a definitive answer in this one either, and honestly, it's all the better for it.
And okay, one other thing that I was sort of a bit, I can't give any more skepticism besides a lot going on in the story. Almost everything else about this is good. The only minor thing that I would say is that I don't think they expand on the idea of memories. The idea of artificial memories in the first one was a huge topic. It was what Deckard used to solidify that his lover Rachel was a replicant, even though she swore she had those memories. And that's also the insanely dark element of Tyrell controlling its replicants, giving them a taste of what it means to be human. In this one, they do bring up the idea of memories, and they do bring up misleading memories, but they don't necessarily provide the context of how misleading memories can steer your life, but only how they can trick you into assuming what your fate is. And granted, that is a very dark idea, but it's sort of played off in a more positive sense.
It's a bit kind of like, reminds me a little bit of The Matrix.
You know my problems with The Matrix.
Okay. Well, again, another work heavily inspired
by a Blade Runner.
By Blade Runner. So, it is kind of cool to see this like circle of inspiration. I suppose there's even a few things that reminded me of some Doctor Who episodes as well, but that might just be me, because I'm a nerd.
You can share.
If I do, it might give away a little too much about the story, though. I really don't want to give away anything. It's too.
This is it's
too good.
It's not even necessarily that it's good, but the story is airtight. So if you leak out any bit of air, it's not gonna hold up as well.
Yeah, this is one of those movies where watching it unfold in front of you is part of like a crucial point of the experience.
Another comparison from the first one to this, the other one is a bit of not a Jenga, a Plinko game, where you can start out from one point, but due to course of events and natural occurrence, you can sway at any point to another direction, whether it be with your thinking or with your sense of judgment and morality.
Do you mean pachinko?
Either or.
Okay.
But this one plays out like a puzzle. You literally have to piece every bit of your reasoning, your morality, your logic in order to get the finite answer to humanity, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. When people go for movies like, what were you expecting? The meaning of life? It's like, well, yeah, and I got it.
But the direction in this, the direction in the first one was what made it amazing. The direction in this one is another thing that makes it amazing.
They really do let you drink in all the visuals, all the vistas, locales, and set the tone perfectly.
Absolutely.
The atmosphere is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
And a lot of that doesn't even necessarily go down to the visuals, but it goes down to the music and the score also.
Yeah. Everything plays into one another in this.
And our whole spiel about slow pacing, when you match the pacing of your movie with the tone you're going for, in this case, the slower and more patient of buildup, the more huge your movie feels. It feels
methodical.
Yes,
that's the word.
It feels so big. It feels like you know every bit of this world. You know that everything that happens in here is 100% serious and meaningful to everything that you experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the camera work that they used too. With the first Blade Runner, Ridley Scott really relied on still shots, at least in my opinion. He did use dragging shots a handful of times. This one takes 100% ability of, well, unfortunately CGI, but then again, this uses CGI the right way.
I mean, again, it's not like we rely upon it to make up for your lack of artistry.
They did have a shit ton of big ass set pieces in this, mm-hmm. especially the Wallace Corp. Well, you can this one you can tie the relation, story wise at least. But yeah, the corporation, they have huge offices, and everything is surrounded by water, which I guess plays into the noir aspect with downtown LA raining so much. But Villanueva, he uses the camera to the absolute best of his ability, mm-hmm. Capturing everything in one fell swoop, and again getting all the mock advertising in for the future products as possible. They still got the Sony logos, the Coke, Atari also, which again, 80s.
Where did you see the Atari logo in this?
It was one of the sides of the building where Gosling was driving his car.
I'm gonna have to look at that again.
It's in the trailer.
I'm gonna have to look for that.
The video game nerd, and you didn't notice an Atari symbol.
No, because I wasn't looking for it. If they're trying to match the times in which this movie came out, that really doesn't make any sense. I mean, you should have a PlayStation logo somewhere on there.
No, Xbox.
Sony puts their name all over this, so why not?
Then again,
it would have been hilarious if you just hear the Nintendo Switch click just in the background.
Well, actually, it would have been funnier if they if they did do a PlayStation logo, but it was like PlayStation 30 out now.
Oh, that would be funny, actually.
Just showing that they're still going with this one console and the umpteenth number of versions instead of a new console.
Yeah.
But then again, that also shows the corporation's greed for continuance.
Yeah. And they couldn't. There's no way they could have a Microsoft logo, not even just for legal issues, but it wouldn't be realistic. Japan rules most of the world now, and we all know Japan doesn't like Xbox.
Oh God, no.
So, yeah, one thing I will. Okay, two things, and then you already hear my closing thoughts. The police stuff in this movie to me was the one part that I didn't think was very well thought out. There's parts of this movie that involve the police station, and frankly, I think
someone stealing shit from it.
I think this is a very incompetent and insecure police station. And I say insecure as in like there is no fucking security in this fucking police station.
A police station in the future.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, someone steals shit from the police station and kills one of the workers at said police station, and
doesn't get herself arrested. Shit, I kind of revealed something there, but okay.
That's okay, it's okay. Actually, you didn't. That revealed nothing.
Same person comes back to the police station and
murders a key character.
Yes, and they say, I'll just say that you tried to kill me first.
So that I retaliated.
Yeah. Okay, the cameras would say otherwise, unless you want to say there are no cameras in this, which doesn't make any fucking sense
because we live in 2017 where there are cameras everywhere in the fucking, well, not world, but everywhere where there can be electricity.
Yes. Where is the security in all this? Where is the police? Why aren't the police getting involved in this?
The police at the police station!
Not just this, but I mean, like, in the movie as a whole, why are the police not getting involved in any of this?
I guess because they're too involved.
Unless you want to say the corporation's, like, paying them out to keep away from this.
That's the only explanation that I can think.
So, yeah, like I said, that's one thing that's not very well thought out in this movie. My one complaint. The only other thing I want to say is more complimentary, but also kind of, I understand partially why they did it and why they didn't do it. One of the things you run into a lot with science fiction movies, ones that are supposed to take place many, many years after each other, is the progression of technology. That was part of my issue with the Star Wars prequels. And sequels for that matter,
or just wait. You mean Force Awakens?
Well, I guess that too. But I mean, yeah. Just think in reality. Think 20 years apart from each other and how much technology can progress in that time period. But in science fiction movies, it seems like technology never progresses anymore, and that doesn't make much sense.
It just stays at a baseline.
Yeah. In this one, though, you do see a little bit of progression of technology, a little bit, and I'm willing to give them some benefit of the doubt to this. Why it doesn't drastically change is because Blade Runner has such a distinct style to it. So they couldn't change everything because then people would be like, this doesn't look like Blade Runner at all.
It's not respectful to the source material,
right? But you do see some change. There obviously are things in this movie that they clearly didn't have in the original. That you could think in that futuristic time period they didn't have the technology to do. Maybe they, again,
particularly with realistic holograms.
Yes, that in particular. I don't remember there being any holograms at all in the first one.
Because the only artificial life they needed was replicants.
Okay, so there is that. But so I just wanted to comment on that. Progression of technology is one of the harder things to think about when making sci-fi sequels. And yeah, like I said, Star Wars prequels were mostly ruined for me because of that. And then even like Alien Resurrection takes place 200 years after the first three, and yet technology didn't seem to progress at all in that time.
A comment about the direction on this also. Every single okay, and with this being a bigger budgeted movie, they take you to more places within like the broad span of LA that they have. They take you to different settings also, and unlike other movies where if you try and add in more places without dedicating time to them, it's pointless and boring. But luckily with the direction and tone they still have here, every single place outside of the rainy LA, it can be snowing, it can be a radioactive storm, it can be in the middle of nowhere at a farm place. It's still all amazing to look at.
A little bit more visually varied than the first one.
Absolutely. And for those of you who've seen the first Blade Runner, you know how Deckard goes through a bit of his transformation through that movie? Just picture Gosling in a similar sense. And that'll be the...
I think you're giving away a little too much there.
No, being vague enough.
I don't know.
If you want to test me, you're going to have to see it for yourself. And why wouldn't you want to see this anyway? This is one of the biggest movies of the whole fucking year. And for definitely good reason.
Yes.
It's... By God, is it well directed. It looks amazing. It sounds great.
Fantastic performances across the board.
Even when Ryan Gosling is like being shot down in his car, he's still just leaning over, but still has the same facial expression.
Okay, admittedly, that was a bit weird, but there is something about his character that might explain it. At least something that makes sense to me. Maybe it wouldn't to other people, but I still really liked it.
Everyone else's acting is very good also.
Yeah, there's one scene in particular that like made my heart hurt that involved Ryan Gosling. I won't say what happens, but it's
first act, second act, or third act.
I think it's second act.
End of the second act.
It's when he it's when he discovers the thing.
Ah, okay. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, the story is also, despite being a lot of stuff happening in it, it's still an interesting story.
Oh yes.
It keeps you guessing, it keeps you engrossed, and it keeps you thinking. So yeah, great directing, great acting, very good writing, as well as just a ton of other... This is a whole package of a movie.
Yeah.
And it is incredibly faithful to the first Blade Runner, but it's not better. For me, they're at the exact same level.
Yeah. And for me, I don't care. It's because this one's good regardless.
And really, isn't that all that matters in the end?
Really, it does, because I was not expecting this to be fantastic. I mean, at most, knowing where it was coming from, the director, knowing that, I figured it would at least be good. But I didn't think it would be, wow, like, amazing. Like, you know, one of the best movies I've seen this year. Amazing.
Go see it. Now.
Yeah. Stop watching this video.
Go. We don't know what the fuck we're doing next, but we never do.
Yeah. We'll mull over the idea of going to see My Little Pony. I'm still incredibly bitter about Equestria Girls, which as you know, as I've already explained to you, is one of the most unpleasant movie-going experiences I've ever had. Not necessarily that the movie itself is the worst I've ever seen in theaters, although
But just the experience.
It's up there. The movie is up there, but the whole experience surrounding it, like getting my tickets, getting seats, there were technical issues with the movie itself, and then not to mention the audience was bar none the most obnoxious audience I've ever.
So it's a perfect concoction of shit for you.
Absolutely. Not to mention I had to pay premium price for a goddamn made-for-TV movie. Which, make no mistake, that's all Equestria Girls was. At least this one looks more theatrical than Equestria Girls. The animation looks a little bit higher budgeted than the TV show was. But I don't know. I might be confused out of my mind. I haven't seen anything My Little Pony related after the 4th season, which I hated and was mostly the reason why I left.
It's breaking him down, man.
Oh man.
I'm
more interested in what you would think of the movie.
Well, there are multiple circumstances that would have to come together in order for me to see that movie.
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, there's not a whole lot else coming out.
The only other possible ones that are coming out are, well, we can't wait until December for fucking Star Wars.
Right. But I mean, there's there's Justice League coming out in November. I think there's...
You're Jackie Chan, man. When's The Foreigner coming out?
I don't know. I didn't even know about The Foreigner until you mentioned it.
Dude, it actually looks like a gritty, hardcore action, martial arts action from the martial arts man himself. And you used to be a huge Jackie Chan fan. Where did that love go?
It's been a while.
It's every lover's excuse. I'm kidding.
Well,
no.
I mean, keep in mind this is coming from the stupid kid who went to go see The Tuxedo. Ooh.
And you also said in the middle of class in 5th grade, the reason I want to watch Around the World in 80 Days is because me and my dad love Jackie Chan. Awesome, Chris.
It was true, and honestly, it was probably better than any other movie they suggested. Someone suggested Shark Tale and Cats and Dogs. Fuck those movies.
Actually did watch Shark Tale once, remember?
Wait, we did?
Yes. That was the second movie. The first one was Around the World. The second one was Shark Tale.
What?
Yep.
One
time we ate popcorn during it. The other time we ate ice cream.
I honestly don't recall that.
That's why you've got the guy with memories.
Okay.
Or are they artificial? Can you see my reflection? Huh?
You see a turtle roasting in the sun. He's waiting for you to turn it over. What are you waiting for, Tom?
I'm waiting for the turtle to turn over. Either that or let me scratch its belly.
That's not what he says.
I know.
You're definitely human because you're an idiot.
Yep.
I'm kidding.
No, I'm a human because I'm blind.
Okay. Probably shouldn't have stared at that for too long.
Yeah, I'm stupid.
Well, we'll see you when we see you.
Later, fuckers.
Unnecessary.
So's life.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, that hurts.
Jeez, I heard that.